Once when I was young, I asked him why he always did Navajos, because I wanted to see more Apaches, because I'm Apache, you know. He just said simply, because I want to. And that simple statement affected my whole career. I can do anything I want to. I wasn't stereotyping. Like a lot of young people, nobody ever tells them that. Do what you want to do, who you are. And that's what he taught me from the beginning without even telling me. It wasn't an art class or anything, it was just life, how to look at the world. Do what you want to do, not what you're supposed to do. And that's what he did. And that's one of the reasons he's not easily categorized as an international artist. Nobody knows who he was because he was him. He was a unique person, and that genius has not been documented yet, and it's not a category that Indian people are supposed to fit into.
With his drawings especially, you can see that he was trying to portray the Native American as a very dignified person with a lot of pride in most everything he did. His sculpture, his drawings, watercolors, everything was done with that in mind, the integrity of the people. He wanted to represent us in the best way. Allan taught sculpture and painting for 25 years. After his retirement, this is when his artwork really blossomed.
There's a tremendous difference between being a Euro-American and being a Native American. There's a tremendous philosophical difference. I was just thinking about how this concept of individuality is so contrary to being a Native American, because you don't go out there and do like Sir Edmund Hillary, you know, climb the mountain because it was there, and he did it by himself and he made it. You always try to climb the mountain and bring your people with you. And that's what Allan tried to do. He tried to bring the people with him. And it really defies this concept of the American or the contemporary man, because Allan never really tried to do it alone. He just happened to be the one who did it, but he always tried to bring Indian people with him.
I don't really understand what it means to be an artist and to have to do that. And to represent a culture in art is very complicated. A heavy responsibility. More than just for example, my cousin does beadwork, and my aunt makes dolls. Those things, they're like relics. They're like elements of the culture in keeping with tradition, and they try to do as accurate or as good a job as they can. But my father is doing something different. It's a capturing of things in motion. It's a capturing of a spiritual relationship with these people, and it's a lot more complicated and unique. And it's amazing that it could blossom like this, or that it could just keep going.
When we were growing up, my father always told us we were as good as anybody else, but no better. That was always really important to him. When I became a professional artist, my father was also a professional artist, and we shared the same studio, and there was no competition. I was doing these bizarre things or political things, and he was right next to me doing his imagery. And sometimes he would give me some advice, like, the corn doesn't look like that, or something. The corn plant doesn't look like that. I was so naive, I didn't know, I was not aware. But I never gave him advice, of course, but there was never any competition. He never, ever told me that's too strong, or that's something you shouldn't touch, or anything like that. He always respected me for what I had to say. He always respected me for a human being.
My father never pressured us. He never said, this is what you should be doing. He says, you find your own path, you find your own way. Whatever is the easiest for you to do, is what you should be doing. So I went into construction work, and I eventually went into building out here. Allan asked me to build him a house and a studio eventually, and I guess that was what was fulfilling to me, is to be able to help my father and give my father a studio where he could do his fabulous work, because at that time I knew he was great. I knew he was a fabulous artist, and I thought, oh boy, I can be a part of it too. I can build him a fabulous studio where he could turn out all his work, and the best place he's ever had to work, all the room, the power equipment set up just right, the overhead hoists, and that was how I became involved. I was right there with him, designing studios, homes, walls, gardens. How should we display this, and how can we make a little water fountain out here in the desert around his garden? Just little things like that. That's what I did with him, and we were close that way. And the more we worked, the closer we got.
He represented like a history of respect, respecting his parents, respecting his past. He evokes the energy of the culture, action, style, beauty, just self-respect and dignity.
Well, it's just like a musician that writes a beautiful tune. I think poetry is the same way. I get reactions from beautiful poetry, and I think that people get the same reaction from sculpture. I get a strong reaction from something that I've never done before, and maybe in a style that I have never used before. Maybe stylizing something that in such a way that I have never seen it done before. This is what excites me. That's the reason I'm always experimenting, just continually exploring new ideas